What's going on, guys? Live here on YouTube talking fantasy football 2019 wide receivers to avoid in 2019 fantasy football. So we're going to talk about also wide receivers to draft, guys to target. So I have two sides of my screen here split. Don't draft these wide receivers in 2019, and do draft, yes, draft these fantasy football wide receivers in 2019. Definitely to bring you this topic, which will be heated. I'm sure there are a lot of people that don't like to hear that the receivers they own in Dynasty, what's going on, Dylan, are guys that I'm staying away from. Now, I'm not completely projecting absolute bust with all certainty for the guys on this side here. We got Thielen, Keenan Allen, Cooper Kupp, Julian Edelman. They're just guys I'm not comfortable taking at their current ADP range. So Adam Thielen, you can start off with him and just say that Thielen, to me, is still getting taken way higher than you should be taking, given that they're going to scale back a lot of his targets. I know some people will argue he's still going to get his, but he was absolutely awful in terms of comparing him to his old self at the end of the year last year when they dialed back the passing attempts and the targets to him and fed Dalvin Cook the ball as they tried out the offense that they're deploying in 2019. They did a test run of it at the end of the year, more run-based, everything through Dalvin Cook. Now, will Thielen get his and become a good wide receiver too? Yeah, but people are still considering drafting him as their high-end or their low-end wide receiver one at the end of the second round, very top of the third. And for me, there are safer players. So Adam Thielen is a guy I'm staying away from. Dylan says, good day, Smitty. Appreciate it. You being here. Thanks for hitting that thumbs up, guys, on your way in the door versus on your way out. Much appreciated. Managed to get Calvin in a ton of Dynasty leagues and Foster as well. And Outsiders is referring to the guys on this side of the screen. Draft these wide receivers. Calvin Ridley, Antonio Brown in Dynasty or redraft. And I say Dynasty because I think Antonio Brown's being way overlooked as a guy that can't maybe have 2 elite years left. He could. And I think he's being extremely undervalued for a team that has a little bit more of a now mentality, but still has some hope for the next year, not just this year, with Antonio Brown's value. Robert Foster is my third go-get player. I kind of I threw one big-name guy in Antonio Brown out there. I threw one middle-range guy in Calvin Ridley and one very late guy in Robert Foster. And I say late for sure because I'm in the middle of our expert drafting. He still hasn't gone. And I think we're in around like 12, 13, something like that. 10 to 12, somewhere in that range. And I think Robert Foster has top 20 wide receiver appeal. Very efficient. Someone's going to get fed and need to eat in Buffalo, and Robert Foster has the makings of that out of nowhere, even though he showed flashes of it last year. Out of nowhere, fantasy value climb into that top 20 wide receiver range. So good move. Outsiders grabbing both grabbing Calvin Ridley in multiple leagues. I like that. What's up, Gary? I'll throw your guys' comments on screen for a second. I appreciate you being here, Gary. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. Brown's ADP is dropping, and if you can get him in the late second, you would. That is exactly my point here. Antonio Brown is one of the most underrated, right here, this guy, most underrated wide receiver ones in fantasy right now, going at the tail end of the second. But sometimes he's going, the user knowledge here that asked the question, I'm talking to him, sometimes he goes even at the top of the third. Nick says, why do you say don't draft Keenan Allen? Because I think if you can get him at the right price, I'd be open to it. But for me, I feel like, I'm not saying Mike Williams will for sure outscore him or anything like that, but I just have my doubts about Keenan Allen every year. You could say it's gut instinct more than anything, Nick, and sometimes I have those calls where I honestly, Nick, don't have a whole lot of hardcore proof or evidence for you other than I just don't feel it this year. I think given the cost, given the fact that he has disappointed in the past, not that other players haven't, not that Dalvin Cook hasn't disappointed and got hurt. So, you could say, hey, that sounds hypocritical, Smitty, but the God's honest truth is I'm going off of gut instinct on this one. I don't think that Allen's going to be worth, I think, a wide receiver one, even if it's a very, very low-end wide receiver one spot on your roster in 2019. If you can get him later than I think you'll ever get him, then, if his value drops a lot, I'm probably, willing to jump back on board. But Francisco wants to know, will Antonio outscore Juju? I'm going to go back up. I missed some comments up above. Will Antonio outscore Juju, Francisco? I don't think he will. I think Juju will outscore Antonio Brown, but I think it's going to be one of those great stories where it's like, look at Antonio Brown this week, look at Juju this week, look at Antonio Brown this week, Antonio Brown again, then Juju, back and forth. But I think the situation is better for Juju by a lot. Antonio Brown is proven, and he'll make the most of his situation and still be a top 5 to 10 wide receiver, being drafted in the 20 to 26 range overall. And I think that's amazing value. Both of them are awesome players. And yes, draft these wide receivers. Antonio Brown's on this list. It doesn't mean Juju's not. It doesn't mean a lot of players aren't. I just called out 3 guys that I want to talk about as like potential undervalued guys from a big name standpoint in Antonio Brown, a medium range standpoint in Calvin Ridley, and a low end, like people aren't drafting him until double digit rounds if ever. And let's see here. What's up, Francisco? He said hello. Thanks to you, outsiders. Thank you. What's up, Smitty? Watkins, I want to say hello to you, my friend. Here's a question from Watkins. What are your thoughts on AJ Green at the back of the 4th in Dynasty? In Dynasty, there are other players I'd rather have, but in redraft, I'd be well okay with that, that value. But I think Dynasty, you're looking at, I think, some safer players in that range. Even if it's and you can call me crazy for this, but I'd rather have like let me think, even a QB, like I'd rather have a Baker Mayfield. I'd rather have, somebody like that that's a little more secure for the dynasty, for the future, for the now. More of a building block for a dynasty team. Taking a QB in the 4th round is not crazy whatsoever when you're building a dynasty franchise, in my opinion. Let's see here. This is from Knowledge. I agree, ADP too high, but I think Ridley, Brown, Foster will be busts at their ADPs. Ridley's not going as high as he used to be going. So for me, I totally disagree with that. But, differing opinions rock. So keep the opinions coming in the comments. I'm totally fine with that. Brown's ADP super low. You got some risk factored into that late second, sometimes early third value. So if you're talking top 5 wide receiver value, then Antonio Brown would be loaded with risk. But I think he's the furthest from being a potential risk at his very, very, very late value. And Foster, given Foster's ADP, I'm not sure how you could see that though, because Foster's going like literally undrafted or in double-digit rounds when people are even considering taking a kicker. So Foster to me has like absolutely 100% zero risk. But again, I do appreciate your opinions. Keep it coming. Love having you here. Thanks for the thumbs up, the comments, and keep it rolling, my friend. Give me Diggs over Thielen, says Knowledge. I can't argue with that, Knowledge. I think Diggs, he's going to have a great year. Especially given the ADP difference, which is probably a good round or two, right? So why not? Let's see. Another question: would you rather have Bob, so Robert Foster, or John Brown? Foster, I think John Brown could be sneaky. Jaron Brown could be sneaky. There's a lot of Browns out there that have sneaky value, but I think the guy that I'm rolling with is Foster. He's my dark horse wide receiver 3 that you can get at almost zero risk, if not absolutely zero risk. What's up, Michael? Michael's question. I'll throw out every question on the top of the screen here. What's up, Smitty? Edelman as my 4th round player. I don't like Edelman. Sorry, Michael, but Edelman won't even come close to being a 4th rounder for me. I do not understand where this value is coming from. I saw Adam rank him on his top like 7 or 8 wide receivers overall. It's absolutely crazy to me. What is Edelman's always hurt? They have N'Keal Harry's going to be the number 1 there by the end of the year, and they're going to move him all over the field. I don't know where this is coming from, but Edelman's value is like skyrocketed, and I can't even pinpoint why. But for me, he's not even close to a 4th round, not even close. So, Michael, trust your gut if it tells you to roll with Edelman in 2019, but I'm not touching him. Injury risk, I don't know that he still has it. Harry's going to be the number one. I'm not even close to agreeing with you on that one. But dude, we're not going to agree on everything, Michael. I appreciate you. You always bring such value. So if you have an argument to make for Edelman, put it in here. I'll put it up here so people can, absorb some of your knowledge and take an angle on that. Because I'm not saying you're going to be wrong. This is why we play the game. But for me, I'm completely avoiding them, and I don't understand the value. But that's me. In Mike, we trust. Joe is asking the question here: will Hunter Henry coming back? Allen and Williams will both drop off. So you're saying that, yeah. So Hunter Henry is a guy that a lot of people are talking about. I too don't understand the value there. I think he is definitely going to take some work away from everybody, but I don't know why Hunter Henry's getting anointed without, some kind of like, hey, prove it to me type of rank or feel. I don't know why he's getting ranked so high, but I get it. There was a lot of appeal before. He hasn't stayed healthy. Everyone's assuming he will. He'll definitely dig into a little bit of Allen's work, but I think Mike Williams digs into a lot of it too. And I just think that for me, Allen, again, you can't really argue this with me because I'm telling you it's gut instinct on this one. So you can have a different opinion and I'll respect that opinion. But for me, I'm just not feeling it on Allen this year. I just don't. And I know that's going to piss a lot of Keenan Allen dynasty owners off because I don't really have a lot to go on other than I just don't feel it. This is one of those ones where, like, you literally, you have more gut instinct on it than anything. But I'm just feeling like a disappointing season could come from. I mean, of course, you have the injury risk. You have the fact that, he was contemplating retirement not too long ago, like a year and a half, 2 years ago. I think he's motivated now. He seems motivated. But, I don't. Maybe that left a sour taste in my mouth. But I'm just avoiding him at the cost when there's other safer players. It's not that I wouldn't eventually take him if he fell to the right spot, but Keenan Allen won't be my low-end wide receiver one in fantasy. Julian Edelman, again, is on my bust list here, and Cooper Kupp. So Cooper Kupp's going to piss a lot of people off because he has like the biggest fan base in fantasy football for a guy that hasn't proven much that I've ever seen, at least in the last decade. Cooper Kupp, you tell people you don't like Cooper Kupp, it pisses a big chunk of people off. For me, Robert Woods, the case can be made that he, took some of that rapport away from Kupp that he had with Goff, and Woods isn't just going to go away. Woods became his reliable receiver, and yeah, Kupp has upside. Him and Goff had some great efficiency going before Kupp got hurt, but Kupp might not even be fully ready or 100% in week one. And he's an injury-prone guy. So it's not that I'm telling you that he's not talented. I think people need to understand that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that Cooper Kupp, at the cost, is not warranted. He's not a guy that warrants the round that you're drafting him in, the fourth or fifth round when he's loaded with risk and you don't even know if he's gonna be healthy or not. So Cooper Kupp is a guy I avoid literally at all costs given his ADP. Adam Thielen, I like if he fell further. Keenan Allen, I like if he fell a little further. All these guys I'm not saying to avoid them if they fell to a spot that was like ridiculous value, but I personally don't see them ever dropping into a place where I would take them. I'm missing some questions down here. Smitty, do you think that you can... Let's see here. Let me close this comment here and drop in this one and I'll try and work my way back up because I missed some. Do you think N'Keal Harry can rival Mike Thomas's rookie numbers? I absolutely think he can. I think you're looking at probably a little bit less than that, but very, very, 80 receptions, 1,000 yards, 7 to 9 scores would not surprise me for N'Keal Harry, and I think we're looking at a top 1 to 4 wide receiver of the future in fantasy football within 1 to 2 years. That means that entering his second year, we will see signs that he will be becoming that player, and then entering his third year, he will be that player. That's my prediction. What's going on, Isaac? I'm surprised Mike isn't on your list, Smitty. He's a great player to target. Mike Williams? Is that what you mean? Well, I mean, my list is only 3 deep outsiders, so it doesn't mean that I don't like them. I just picked one mid-range guy, one big-name guy, and one low-range guy. So I like Mike. Mike Williams. Cooper Kupp will not be healthy. That's kind of my thinking. What's up, Warren? Thumbs up. I appreciate it, my man. Michael says Cooper Kupp will not be healthy. I agree with you. Cooks and Woods are the main guys, I think, there. And, yeah, Kupp has talent. But, again, it comes down to, will he stay healthy? He doesn't even look like he's 100% yet. Why would you be banking on him as a 4th or 5th rounder when health is always the concern for Cooper Kupp? Oh, my bold predictions, outsiders. You know, I like him. He's close to being one of those guys that would drop on my bold predictions. But I only have a coveted 12 to 14 overall bold predictions. I don't toss out 100. I'm not like some of these people that throw out 150 bold predictions and then they land a few. I literally hand select and hand pick 12 to 14 so that I can ring this bell every time we successfully land and deploy and execute on one of the best bold predictions of 2019, 2018, all the way back from Alvin Kamara in 2017, Pat Mahomes, James Conner last year, Leonard Fournette being a bust last year, Tariq Cohen being a big-time sleeper. Adrian Peterson was on the bold predictions last year for having one of those bounce-back, unforeseen, campaigns when people wrote him off. You're curious to see what he's going to do this year. He's predicted big things for himself. Pretty unrealistic things, but yeah, AP is a guy that's kind of like abnormal. So who knows what he's capable of for a year. He could have another decent year left. How's it going, William? Okay, if I missed a question, can you post it again? I think I got outsiders asking this one here. Let me drag these two questions over and I'll answer them. And then knowledge, we're agreeing on some other stuff, like Hunter Henry getting way too much credit. I believe you're right on that. I'm not saying he can't prove himself, but he's, I think he's got to prove it to me. I got to see it before I can actually rank him higher. Who do you think will eat into Ingram's load the most, Gus Edwards or Justice Hill? From the start, right out of the gate, man, maybe Edwards if he's healthy, but I think Ingram, the real point here to take away is that Ingram is going to have an amazing year considering his dropping and falling ADP. He honestly in redraft, Ingram kind of warrants like top 25 to 30 overall value, and he's going so much later than that. He could be a beast. He could be a top 7 to 10 running back. I like Ingram a lot given the value. I say Ingram will run into. I didn't even know that these two questions I dragged them on were going to be the same. I say Ingram will be run into the ground, but it's the QB that affects everything. Yeah, I think Ingram will be running into the ground, but he's going to have a big year. Chris Godwin question from Troll. What's up, Fantasy Troll? I'm covering up my own logo there. What am I doing? Chris Godwin's ADP is starting to get too high. I agree 100%. I had Chris Godwin as a breakout sleeper for 2019 back in January, February. I had it all over Instagram. He was getting drafted as a wide receiver like 3, 4. And now he's like going in the 4th round and some crap like that. And you're ruining all the upside. What's up, Lewis? Lewis in the house. Question from Lou. Do you have a private group for chat for the Fantasy Football Throne, or is it going to be done on Instagram Live? So great question, Lewis. I am not doing this whole. So for those of you, real quick, 1 to 2 sentences to explain what this is. Fantasy Football Throne. I created probably the most hyped up expert league that's ever been created on Instagram. It starts tonight. And the reason it's special, the reason that it's different is you guys, the followers of each brand. So there's 12 fantasy football expert Instagram pages involved. The Fantasy Football Show is obviously one. I created the thing. What's up, Michael? And so you guys, the followers, are going to draft my team. And so the question here is, am I going to create private groups? No, I'm not. I think that's crap. A lot of these people are doing that. They're free to, all the other experts, I told them, since it's my league, you guys can do whatever you want to collect your votes, but I myself am not going near these private group chats where you're excluding a big majority of your people that don't have time to be in a live chat. They can't mess around with all those damn messages you're going to get constantly, and people bickering and arguing and trying to strong arm people into a vote. I'm doing it live. I'm doing it through an Instagram post. I'm going to collectively pull all that information together and draft the player that you guys want me to draft at every turn. There'll be about an 8-hour timer. Hopefully we don't use that. The timer will be off at night. No one's going to really get skipped. So the timer is kind of theoretical. It's going to be a theoretical timer, but you guys at every turn will make my pick, and I go to battle with the team that you created. I come to you with the tough waiver wire decisions and trade talk and lineup things that might be tough. I can't come to you guys for every action during the season. There's just too many things that you could have to decide on. But I'm going to bring all the big stuff to you. You guys draft my team in this expert league, and we'll see how I compete against all the other experts with the team you draft for me. So no, to answer your question, Lewis, no, I'm not doing private chats. We're going to do this the old-fashioned way, asking you guys as a group in a live, Instagram live. If you don't know my Instagram handle, it's right here at the top of the screen, top left. That's the handle for my YouTube page and my Instagram page. So go to that handle on Instagram, go to that page, and make sure you're following and get ready. The draft starts at 9 p.m. Eastern. The number one overall pick is going to go the Fantasy Football Show, a.k.a. the show, a.k.a. Team Smitty is what we're calling it. We have the number 4 pick. We're probably looking at Zeke Elliott or Kamara or McCaffrey. So when we're on the clock, we're doing it. Lewis, you're the GOAT. I'm on Team Smitty. Thank you, sir. Where's Michael John Wolf's comment? Harry. What fantasy pundit gets every pick correct? Did I miss something? Did somebody say something? Harry Muto. Nick Foles' bold prediction for 2014 didn't really work out. Oh, Harry. I'll put Harry's comment up. I don't care. It's all right, Harry. I appreciate you, man. I don't get everything right. No one can get everything right. I mean, if honestly, if a fantasy expert got even 70% of everything right, oh, that's what even Michael John Wolf says right here. That would be amazing. I was just going to say that exact same phrase. It would be amazing if any fantasy expert got 70% right of the stuff they crank out, let alone my bold predictions. They're bold for a reason. I'm not going to land every bold prediction I make. Actually, I guarantee you I'm going to miss 2 or 3 of my bold predictions every single year. So if that makes you uncomfortable, maybe that's not the right feature for you if you're expecting 100% accuracy when I'm calling out the Alvin Kamara's, calling out the Nick Foles. Oh, I was wrong on that. He's looking pretty decent right now in terms of being an NFL player for his team. But, those things are going to happen. I'll even give you, I liked Rojo last year. I'm not going to hit everything. But my number 1 bold prediction was Pat Mahomes last year. My number 2 was James Conner, both written like early in the offseason before Bell was even going to hold out. That stuff happens, man. But I appreciate you being here. And hopefully I can turn you back into a fan if you, for some reason, aren't at this point. What's up, King? Warren says Team Smitty 2019. Warren. Dylan. Thank you, Dylan. I appreciate it, Dylan. Oh, Jon Snow. That's pretty good. So I know Jon Snow knows nothing. I know 70%. King, who's Foster? Robert Foster, Buffalo Bills wide receiver. Talked about him already. Definitely watched the replay, but in a nutshell, he was a very efficient wide receiver last year. Look at his game log. Go to Robert Foster on any sort of news site. Look at his game log at the end of the year. He went nuts. I really think he's going to be awesome. Njoku hasn't put up numbers yet. Now they have OBJ. His numbers will be blah. I don't think so. I think Njoku's going to get his. I think that Baker Mayfield and that team are going to throw so much. There'll be so much output. Different than last year. They'll be throwing a ton. It'll be like Kansas City, where people thought in week 1, week 2, Kansas City would have not enough. They'd have too many mouths to feed, that proved to be inaccurate. They just needed time to get used to throwing the ball to everybody. Lewis, I'm loving Calvin Ridley in this offense this year. Calvin Ridley is going to be a top 10, I believe, wide receiver heading into. He'll be the Juju Smith-Schuster of 2020, meaning we're going to head into 2020 this time next year talking about him kind of like we are with Juju. Maybe he won't be ranked in the 7 to 10 range, but we'll be saying, hey, this guy might be getting that baton passed from Julio Jones, and then he's going to run with it and be the new wide receiver 1 in Atlanta. Julio's got the foot issues that I think will eventually slow him down and end his career sooner than we would like. Could be wrong there. It could be a year early there. I'm not saying Julio is going to drop off completely next year, but it might be one of those things where Julio's amazing when he's on the field, but from 2020 on, we might not see near 16 games and it'd be pretty unreliable. We'll see how that pans out. Next question. You guys have a lot of good questions here. Doesn't have to get much to be a relevant tight end Njoku. And that's the thing that I always tell people. So if you don't like Njoku and you think Njoku's not going to get his, think about what you're saying though, because after Ertz, after Kittle, after Kelsey, and maybe OJ Howard, you're seeing a significant drop off to the point where 800 yards and 7 TDs would be the next tight end. So Njoku being a top 5 to 7 tight end in 2019 is not unrealistic. I'm not having to predict, Kelsey numbers. Brady at that price will win you a chip. I think Brady is a decent value right now. He's going like an almost double-digit round, so Brady's a fine backup. If you drafted a bigger name QB, according to everybody else, a bigger name, and Brady's sitting there, back your starter up with Brady, man. It's a great move. Williams saying, I predicted Kittle's success last offseason. Do you think it repeats similar? Yes, I think Kittle's going to be even better in 2019 now that he has Jimmy G back, healthy. I mean, look what he did last year with his QB situation. Imagine what Kittle's going to do this year. And Kittle's going in the 3rd round. Kelsey's going in the 2nd. You tell me what's more of a win your league approach. Take Kittle in the 3rd round all day long, just like I say take Damian Williams in the 3rd round all day long, just like I say take Pat Mahomes in the 3rd round all day long. Kittle, Pat Mahomes, Damian Williams. Absolute amazing picks in the 3rd round of 2019. A very shaky 3rd round that has a lot of players that have iffy value. They could either be bust or big upside. For me, take the secure locks and Damian Williams. I know he has some risk, but you can cuff him to the other KC running backs, Darwin Thompson, if you just need to pick one for now. Hyde is a thought. Hyde could be relevant. We'll see. But Damian Williams, Kittle, and Pat Mahomes are my locks in the 3rd round of guys that definitely take. Warren says Robbie Anderson. I think he's okay. Smitty is scary accurate. James is saying, okay. Let me put this here. James, how do you know what his ceiling is? What player are you talking about? What player are you talking about, though? So, what do you guys think? Julian Edelman, Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen, Adam Thielen. Not saying they are all 100% locks to bust in 2019, but given the ADP values, I don't like them. I don't like Edelman at all. I have people in here talking about, and I'm not ripping on you, I'm just voicing my concern for the ADP. I continuously see people talking about Julian Edelman in the 4th round. I don't understand that at all. It makes no sense to me. I feel like I've been in a coma for 2 or 3 years and somehow woke up and found Julian Edelman ranked in a place that I can't even comprehend. I don't know where it came from. I have no clue where it came from. Where did this guy's value come from to that degree? I don't get it. Robert Foster, Antonio Brown, Calvin Ridley, players that you should be drafting in 2019 given the value. Amazing values. Calvin Ridley, potentially the next Juju Smith-Schuster. Antonio Brown still has top 5 wide receiver ability, but is going in a range that packages in like such a low risk. I mean, he's a 18 to 25 overall guy, 18 to 26. You can't really go wrong there, even if he has a misstep, a slow start, bad report first with Carr, misses a game or two. You're building in elite numbers there for a guy and packaging it around all that there's risk baked into that. So that's why, Corbin, you definitely, I think, need to draft Antonio Brown at the right price. Am I telling you to draft him as a top 5 wide receiver? No, because then he'd be risky. But drafting him outside the top, like 18 overall, is just pure gold. Harry Edelman was wide receiver 12 last year in PPR. You'd love to get that in the 4th. That's good. I wouldn't, but I respect it, Henry. That's why we play this game. I don't understand the value, depending on your scoring, where he finished per game. Ride it if you want it. He's an injury waiting to happen. There are a lot of guys, Henry, in defense of your point, that I like that are very injury prone. So you can call it a mix of gut instinct and the fact that he has trouble staying healthy. But I can appreciate you like him if you want, and definitely circle back end of year and we'll talk about it, whether Edelman was worth a 4th rounder. I'd be more than happy to admit I was wrong if I end up being wrong on that. N'Keal Harry's going to be the wide receiver 1 there, I think, by end of year. Give me Vance McDonald over Njoku. I like McDonald too. I don't think there's anything wrong with either of those guys being ranked ahead of the other. So I'm okay with that one. But yeah, as far as that 3rd round goes, we can talk about the 2nd, 3rd. So let's talk about each round, and I'll tell you the guys that I like and the guys that I think are guys to kind of avoid maybe in the 3rd and 4th round, guys to maybe take. Let me pull up a ranking here, and we'll go over. Actually, I'm going to pull up ADP data. Let's pull up some ADP data. And let's talk about ADP data, where guys are going, who's going too high, who's going too low. Let me move this over. Okay. Boom. All right, I'm going to list off some guys. Got a couple comments here. B Lie, thanks for the live stream, Smitty. Appreciate it, man. Which QB do you believe some sort of potential in the later rounds? I think Kyler Murray could have a very good rookie year. Tom Brady, like I said, is falling into the double-digit rounds in some cases, and that's pretty crazy value. I think you'll either have Josh Allen go really earlier or very late. So Josh Allen has some value. Looking at, let me pull this. Let me look at QBs here. Hold on a second. Hopefully my computer isn't freezing up. Trying to do too much at once while I'm live streaming. Okay, so Deshaun Watson's going in the 6th. Baker Mayfield's going in the 7th. I love Baker Mayfield in the 7th. Matt Ryan in the 6th, 7 range. Breeze in the 7th is pretty damn good value. Russell Wilson in the 7th is damn good value. Waiting on a QB is never wrong, but also taking a QB early is never wrong, and you'll hear me preach that until the end of time. There's nothing wrong with either approach. The only wrong approach is to say that taking a QB early is the wrong approach. That is a ridiculous stance, given that both stances can... It depends on how you build. It depends on what you're good at. There's no reason you can't wait on a QB if that's your strength, like Carson Wentz in the 7th, Russell Wilson in the 7th. Kyler Murray in the 9th is good value. Goff in the 9th is good value. Cam in the 9th, even with injury risk, is good value. Rivers in the 10th is good value. I mean, there's a lot of good value guys to grab. Roethlisberger's going in the 11th. Tom Brady, like I said, in the 11th. Garoppolo in the 11th. I mean, you can't... The list goes on and on as far as those QBs that are being undervalued late. So to answer your question, there's just an endless amount of those guys they're serviceable for sure. Is Mike Williams in the 6th round early? Let's see where his ADP is. Mike Williams in the 5th round is where he's going, 5.11, way too high for me. Well, then again, I mean, look at the guys around him. Landry. I like Watson. I like Mayfield ahead of him. I'd rather take a secure QB there than go with a Mike Williams. But I do like Mike Williams, I guess, in the late 6th. I'd be okay with that. Thoughts on Christian Kirk? Before going out last year, he had more yards than Larry Fitzgerald, says James. Kirk as a wide receiver 1 will improve theirs. I think Kirk could be really good, and they're going to run two slot wide receivers constantly. that they're going to be very spread out, so there's room for a lot of people to do well. I think Fitz will still be the wide receiver 1 in Arizona. I think Fitz will have 1,000 yards and 7 to 8 scores in 2019. Deebo Samuel or Pettis to be a wide receiver 1. I think Samuel will be by the end of the year. I think Pettis has some sneaky good value. I like both wide receivers and I like Garoppolo a lot. Do I play at high stakes leagues? I occasionally do. I do so many leagues and provide so much content that a lot of my time is spent creating content for you guys. Yes, I do them on occasion. Sometimes I do them in promotions that I'm involved in where I have a sponsor or somebody. So sometimes my limitations to those leagues are what sponsorships and people I'm talking to. Mahomes, Henry says Mahomes went in the 5th round. That's a great value, man. Mahomes in the 5th is an absolute home run. That can win you a league right there. Hey, Big Jim. What's up, Big Jim? Glad to see you here, my man. Mike Evans, top 5 steal. Sure, he could be a top 5 wide receiver. So let's go over ADP real quick, and then before this stream ends, because I'm gonna keep it at about, what are we at? We're at 36 minutes, so we'll try and keep it just under an hour. Let's go over ADP. ADP. Guys I think are going way too high. Honestly, since my Todd Gurley rants, no Todd Gurley, everyone thought I was absolutely insane. Todd Gurley's falling into the, where's his ADP now? Everyone's on board now. He's falling into the 17 to 19 overall range. For those that have been with me since the show started in in January, you know that me talking about him outside the top 5 was considered asinine crazy. I was ludicrous. I was an insane person. Now he's ranking at number 17 on ADP data, and he should be ranking a lot lower than that. But it's nice to see everybody catch up to that one. Todd Gurley's still high at number 17, in my opinion, because you got a guy like Dalvin Cook, Antonio Brown, Damian Williams, Mike Evans, who you just mentioned. I take Nick Chubb even if you handcuff him to Hunt. That's putting him at 23, 24 before, there's so many players above Gurley that are below Gurley that I would take over Gurley in a heartbeat. So Gurley still has a lot of risk at that top 15 to 17 overall value, considering who's still there. And you could say, oh, well, I can cuff him. Well, you can't cuff him in every situation because people like me will step in and take Darrell Henderson from you. So it's not as easy as you think to cuff him, because people are going to get cute when it comes to Darrell Henderson's value. His ADP won't be extremely reliable because people are going to want to use him and win their league having him stashed, because Darrell Henderson can be a top 5 running back per start this year. Guys ADP. I'll talk about guys ADP I like and don't like, because there's so many things to go over here. Good tight ends in late rounds. And Njoku I just talked about. Burton for the Bears is a good tight end, very late. I like him a lot at the value. So no big risks in the top, 8 anymore ever since Gurley fell out. Yeah, Henry's saying Gurley fell out into the 3rd, and he should. That's definitely what should be happening, but a lot of ADP data still shows him high. Now it's still factoring in a lot. Tyreek Hill did rise. I don't know, Henry, if you saw what I did. Troll, you're saying Henry's ADP is going way too high. Depends where you go. I took him in the 6th round in our expert draft, and I couldn't be happier about taking him at the tail end of the 6th round. Darrell Henderson. I'm going to hit a home run with that one, I think, and get way more value than any of the players that were left there. The players that were left in the late 6th round couldn't win me a league. Darrell Henderson could, and I can trade him for a lot more, or trade Damian Williams later. So for me, it comes down to how much home run ability does each player have at each draft selection. And sometimes I will take a guy out of turn in terms of what I need for my team. Team needs do not come first for me. Best player available does. I know that's uncomfortable for a lot of people, and I get if a lot of people can't draft that way. That's fine. Do I trust Mixon and Melvin Gordon? Tank Hawk group is asking. Great question. No, I don't trust Mixon at first round value. I trust him a little more at late 2nd, which is where he's falling on occasion lately. His ADP is around 2.01, but in 2 expert drafts that I've done, he's fallen past 15. That's more comfortable value for me. I don't trust that offense to be extremely effective on the ground. but that's just me. Let's see here. All right, so guys I like at ADP, I'll answer more questions at the end, but I want to get through this stuff before we jump off. So guys in the top 8, I'm not seeing much risk now that Gurley's fell out, now that Connor's fell out, and I predicted Connor to fall far, and he's falling further and further and further, and that was another one that I got called absolutely insane for, that James Conner, how can you call him a bust or bust potential at top 7 to 10 overall value? And I keep seeing comments, there's one or two guys that say, Smitty, only in your fantasy land is Conner going in the top 7 to 10. That's not true. His value, his ADP on Fantasy Football Calculator was, it still is in the top 12. It's at 1.12. And then I'll have people say, oh, well, that's not good and reliable ADP data. There are ADP data, there is ADP rankings out there that show him in the top 12 still. There's evidence of it right there. He's number 12. But he was 7 to 12. Now, in 2 expert leagues I've drafted in, he's gone at 15 or later, just like Gurley. And so him falling is making him more attractive of a pick. So would I take Connor at the tail end of the second? He won't fall there. On average, he's going at like 15. I won't take him at 15 because I think there's too much risk. I'll take Samuels, and if it's a deep rostered league, you can't do this in a shallow league. But if your rosters are deep, I'll take Snell and Samuels, and I'll have the James Conner of 2019 that I predicted in 2018 because James Conner was my number 2 bold prediction. Him and Jalen Samuels handcuffed together, and that's what I'm predicting for Snell and Samuels this year. So that's my take there. You guys know that. Dalvin Cook is amazing value at 2.06, I think. He has the potential to be a top 5 to 7 overall player in 2019. He had that kind of draft value in 2018, then he got hurt. So everybody talking about how he's too much of an injury risk, they aren't factoring in the fact that he's going like literally 10 to 12 spots lower than his upside. And then let's see here. Odell Beckham Jr. I think is about right. Mixon, I said, was a little high. Kelsey's too high for me. On paper, he warrants a top, 15 overall pick. Sure, but I'm not taking Kelsey that high, especially if Kittle is falling to the 3rd, because I think if you build a team where you draft Kelsey in the 2nd round, your team looks very thin when you walk out 9 times out of 10. And you won't be real happy with the balance. But if you take Kittle in the 3rd, you're looking at home run material. Scott says, thanks for answering my question about Odell Beckham Jr. and Chubb. That last live show, you have me thinking about AB. Hey, man, appreciate it. Big Jim, so what do you think about Christian Kirk, Larry Fitzgerald, and DJ this year? I think DJ will be top 3 running back. I think DJ is safer to count on as a top 5 running back. I think he definitely has a bounce back year. I think a lot of those Cardinal players are going to have big years. I think Fitzgerald's the leading wide receiver with 1,000 and 7 to 10. You might have 2,000-yard receivers. Who knows? Kirk might sneak in there and have that kind of season. The rookies will come along slowly, but we'll see if Isabella or what's his name? Blanking out his name. I like both of those rookie wide receivers. Isabella's kind of, I think, everyone's favorite, even though he's drafted later. But I think Kirk and Fitz will have nice years, and I think that DJ will bounce back. Very spread out attack. Kyler Murray's going to make a lot less mistakes than he would in a different offense. But Gordon or DJ, that's a tough one. I think I would go Gordon. No. That's tough, man. I think if I had the number 6 pick in like 2 different drafts, I would maybe consider going. Well, I'd consider going Hopkins too, but if I was going running back, I'd take probably DJ in one. I'd take Gordon in the other. That's how close it is for me. I think both are going to be amazing, but it's very, very close. That's a very, very tough question to answer. And as Big Jim's saying, he's a leaning DJ. I'm not picking one or the other. I'm leaning one or the other. It's that damn close. So very, very good question. Antonio Brown, love his ADP at 2.06. Damian Williams, hopefully he falls to a 2.10 to 3.02 value. I've seen him go in the 3rd. I got him in the 3rd round in the expert league that I'm doing. So it's possible that he falls. I hear a lot of people say he won't fall. He does. He may not fall in every draft. He may not have fallen in your draft. Somebody might love him in your draft. Doesn't mean that he doesn't fall. He does. Mike Evans at 2.08 is good value. Nick Chubb is amazing value at 2.09 if you handcuff him to Kareem Hunt. If you don't handcuff Nick Chubb to Kareem Hunt, you're looking at what I would consider all by himself. If you told me I could not own the duo, I would rank Chubb in the third round. You need to have both running backs. It's not because Hunt's going to take his job if Chubb's healthy and doing well. It's that Chubb is a very aggressive runner, big frame, very injury prone. Chubb could go down at any moment. They're going to use him a ton while Hunt is out, so he'll be overworked, and there's a very high likelihood that he misses time. And if he misses time, this is one of the only situations in Cleveland where you have a guy that steps in and is just as good. They have the best running back crew in the league in the duo when you consider the depth of the position. Not saying that Chubb or Hunt, any one of them, are close to those top 4 running backs in the NFL, and Zeke, Kamara, Barkley. I'm not saying, or McCaffrey, I'm not saying that those guys stand a chance to outscore those players or be better. But in terms of a team having the best running back crew, the 1-2 punch, it's Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. It's an amazing duo in an offense that's potent and going to be electric and do amazing things. So draft both Chubb and Hunt, and you have gold at 2.09. I don't like Adam Thielen, like I mentioned, and the whole point of this video is to talk about wide receivers to draft and not draft. Adam Thielen at 2.10 is very risky. T.Y. Hilton I like, but at 2.11, I'm taking a different player. I'm taking a safer player. Keenan Allen has 2.11/3.01 value. That's why I'm saying here on screen, stay away from Keenan Allen at 2.11 to 3.01 value. There are safer players to have and safer players to grab. What's up, Roger? What's up, Jose? Tight end, I would say 6 or 7. Was that a question for someone else? Cooper or Brown? Which Brown are you talking about? And are you talking about Mari Cooper and Antonio Brown? If so, I say Antonio Brown for sure. That's the way I'm leaning. Devontae Parker. I'm not buying Devontae Parker, man. He can't. He's got to prove some things to me. Not drafting Hunt anywhere, says James. Well, I mean, I can understand you not wanting to own just Hunt, but if you own Chubb, you have to own Kareem Hunt, I think, or you're setting yourself up for some extreme disappointment for a few games. Hopefully, it would only be a couple of games, but go through the 5th round here. Devonta Freeman, I love at 3.5 round to 4 round value. I've seen him climb high. I've seen him go low. So if you get Devonta Freeman as your 3rd drafted player, not bad risk, especially because Ito Smith is cheap. But Freeman, if he climbs to this ADP that he's showing here at 3.02, 3.04, guys below him like George Kittle, Pat Mahomes, those guys feel a little bit safer and better. Aaron Jones is a guy to consider, I think, at the top of the 3rd. He has 3.10 ADP, but that ADP might be factoring in a lot of drafts before the news broke that he's ripped and in shape. And so Aaron Jones might have deceptive ADP data right now because it's factoring in a ton of drafts that happen, way in advance of that information. Kerryon Johnson has 4.01 value. He could be a home run or a complete miss. Derrick Henry still has 4.01 value. That's crazy value. He has top 10 potential, and all the risk in the world factored into that. Julian Edelman, just like I have up on screen here. Julian Edelman, 4.02. Not touching it. Not touching it at all. That's crazy value when you got David Montgomery, Phillip Lindsay below him, Derrick Henry right around there, Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks, Kenny Golladay, Andrew Luck, Aaron Rodgers, Calvin Ridley even. I take Calvin Ridley over Edelman all day long. And you can say I'm crazy on that one. I'm called crazy all offseason. But watch that unfold. Watch Calvin Ridley unfold as one of the upcoming wide receivers in the NFL. Elite talent. Juju Smith-Schuster talent heading into 2020. Those guys are head and shoulders above Edelman. I think above Kupp. I'm not a fan of Kupp at all at his ADP. Well, Hunt can get into shape, but you game shape and all that, yeah. But again, James, I'm not saying that Hunt's going to step in at week 9 or 10 or whatever. I'm saying that if you own Chubb, you have to own Hunt because at some point Chubb could get hurt and then Hunt comes in and is amazing. Ted says I'm crazy. That's fine, Ted. I've been called much, much worse all off season. I imagine you're saying because of my Edelman over Calvin Ridley over Edelman, or are you talking about Cooper Kupp? Usually it's Cooper Kupp that ruffles the most feathers. People are so adamantly passionate about Cooper Kupp. It's amazing. I can't walk into a chat room or do a live or do whatever without running into at least 50 to 70% of people in favor of Kupp. So you're not alone at all, Ted. You've got a lot of people in your corner that think I'm off on the Cooper Kupp stuff, but the guy I don't think will stay healthy. And I think Calvin Ridley is going to be an absolute beast. James has my back on Calvin Ridley. So, Aaron Rodgers, amazing value in the 5th. Chris Carson, I don't like at the tail end of the 4th. I think that's avoid that at all costs. Mark Ingram at the tail end of the 4th or top of the 5th is amazing value. Let's see here. Baker Mayfield in the 6th round is amazing. Tyreek Hill is in the 6.01, but who knows where his ADP really is because he's, going to be all over the place. Roger, telling you right now Ridley will be better than Julio. WTH question mark. That's from Roger. I absolutely love Calvin. I wouldn't be surprised if that baton got passed at the tail end of the year, but I think it's going to really come down to injury. Julio's Julio. Julio's not going to lose talent between now and, let's say, even the end of next year, so 2 years. What he's going to lose is health, in my opinion. Did you hear the joke about Julio not being able to enter his own home? Someone painted a goal line across the front door. Oh, that's funny. That's funny, James. Calvin Ridley, give Calvin Ridley 10 to 12 touchdowns and he outscores Julio. I'm not saying he's a lock for 10 to 12 this year, but I think we could see something like that happen. I would not be shocked at all if Calvin Ridley had double-digit touchdowns and as much, near as much receiving action as Julio. I wouldn't. I love Calvin Ridley. I think he's going to be an absolute beast. King, Roger are answering the question, Freeman or Mack. Roger says Mack. King says Mack. I can't disagree that I don't know, man. That might be one of those split decisions again. Have the same pick in 2 different drafts. I go Mack in one and Freeman in the other. I think Mack has more. I think Freeman is very undervalued, but I think you got to draft Freeman a little later in hopes that he can stay healthy. He doesn't have concussions and things like that. So the reason I'm hesitant is the end of year. Do I think there's a possibility Freeman could be absolute steal material? For sure, 100% think that there's a possibility of that. But do I think that Mack has running back 1 appeal when healthy? Absolutely. So give me Mack. But also know that I'm all on board with taking Freeman in the late 4th. I've seen Freeman go in the early 5th, which is a steal. I like. Let's go later in the draft. So Tyreek Hill, I don't know where he's going to go. It says 6.01, but I don't think that's his ADP. I think that's mixed up right now. Darrell Henderson has a 6.10 ADP. That sounds about right, and I take Darrell Henderson there all the time. I'm fine with that. You know why? Because the players around him, Miles Sanders, not a huge fan of Miles Sanders, Alshon Jeffrey, Lamar Miller, Robbie Anderson, Jared Cook, Vance McDonald I like. I like Robbie Anderson. Allen Robinson, I like him. Will Fuller. Those are players that I'm willing to take a pass on to get the upside that Darrell Henderson has, that Darrell Henderson provides me. So, for me, it's like I take that risk all day long that Henderson doesn't work out if the only risk I'm really passing on, or the only risk I'm really taking on, is passing on one of the names that I just read you. That is not going to lose your season. Darrell Henderson could win your season. Okay, so that is going to about wrap it up, folks. I appreciate you jumping in. I appreciate the thumbs up. Please thumbs up on the way out. I really, really appreciate it. And subscribe if you haven't. Get ready for the Fantasy Football Throne. The handle is the same as the YouTube handle right here at the Fantasy Football Show. Get on over to Instagram. A lot of it's taking place on Instagram. I'll do updates and stuff over here on YouTube, but it's going to be live streaming on Instagram as we're on the clock. I imagine we won't be on the clock until the early morning. Maybe the late night we will. Thanks, King. I appreciate it. Thanks, Ted. I appreciate I don't mind different opinions, man. As long as you're respectful. Same goes to everybody, even Henry in here. As long as you guys are respectful, I love the differing opinions. It's just some people come in here and they call you names and expect you to be praising them and want you on their channel and their show and involved in their community. Being against me doesn't bother me. I like differing opinions. Going against the grain is what I do. I expect it. I'm ahead of the curve type material. That's my goal, is to provide you guys, be ahead of the curve, and give you the Todd Gurley stuff before it ever unfolds, which is what I do, which is what I've done. So, Henry, I don't mind the differing opinions, and you've been respectful, especially toward the end there. I appreciate it. So keep bringing it. It's fine, man. I love it. Thumb up on your way out. Subscribe if you haven't. Get ready for more shows. You guys are making this channel grow so fast. Since really February, when I did the 24-hour straight live stream. If you missed that, don't watch the whole thing, but go and check it out. It's quite an experience going 24 hours without sleep. King, thank you. King says, best show going. Put up some of your comments as I'm walking out. As I'm walking out the door, you asked to be called crazy. Thank you, Ted. I did ask. Ted is absolutely right. Warren says, greatest show, dropping knowledge. I appreciate the love, guys, and support. King says, best show going. Already read that one. Awesome show, says knowledge. Thumbs up, says Henry, one of my critics in this chat. Thumbs up. That's how awesome that you guys are. You're able to debate, have good, healthy conversations. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I appreciate it. Fantasy Football Throne starts at 9 p.m. Eastern tonight. Who are we going to draft as a community, as the Fantasy Football Show, as Team Smitty? Who are we taking? You guys decide for me. I go to battle weekly with this team against 11 other expert pages with the team you draft for me. We have the number 4 pick. We'll have 8 hours to be on the clock. I don't think we'll need it because given we're going to get one of the big 4, the remaining one player out of the big 4, our pick's going to be pretty easy, pretty quick, pretty painless. And we're going to say, next up, we know what we're doing. Make your damn pick at number 5. That's how it's going to roll. See you guys on Instagram. 9 p.m. Eastern, it's kicking off. I might go live and talk about the pick as it happens, even though it won't be our pick at 1.01. I'm going to be live at 9 p.m. Eastern to talk about it. Take it easy, guys. Appreciate it.